What I'm struck by is the number of heroes out there that are living with serious mental illness who, but for this kind of outreach, would be living alone or living sort of lives unto themselves and not being able to make these contributions.
Our main foundation was find those who are doing better and get them back with the ones that aren't doing as well and start to build bridges on this thing. So I think the sky's the limit.
Because it all starts with giving people a sense of hope that there can be a better world out there, they can have a better life, and that the way they build that sense of hope is that they find out through the peer education groups things they can do for themselves that will make their own lives better.
The one thing that I wish we could do is figure out a way for some of the clinical people to see what happens in the peer education experience.
Hi, this is Mo Armstrong, and I'm here with a group of people that we have been doing the Peer Educator Project. The Peer Educator Project is a group of those of us that have major psychiatric disabilities, major psychiatric conditions, and we study from a workbook called the Recovery Workbook. In this Recovery Workbook, we learn about kind of what we have as far as a psychiatric condition goes and how to live with it. So right now, we're going to start just as we would in any other group. How many people had an instantaneous onset of mental illness? Where it just came one day and all of a sudden you got like all this nervousness and tension and anxiety. Okay, Jennifer, you were going to talk.
It was a shock to find it out, but more than that, it was a relief to have a name to what I'd been feeling for 25, 30 years. And so for me, it was like a great epiphany because I finally knew what was wrong.
I was like totally in shock that I had to be on medication. I was, I always wanted to become a professional archaeologist, and I was forced to drop out of school and discontinue my education. And it does devastate your dreams for a while, I think. It can.
I can identify with Maureen in a way with that. When it first hit me, I became, as I mentioned earlier, became catatonic, bulimic, and anorexic. Before that, I was an honor student, Proctor schools in high school, on the National Honor Society twice, to the point where in my sophomore year, I had to repeat the year instead.
That's terrible. So there is a lot of shock. Anybody else experiences shock? Tom?
Yeah.
Only when you get the bill.
That's right, yeah, the bills. The bills that started coming in, that was shocking.
But you know what I found out over and over again, that people that seem to do well with recovery end up having a good sense of humor. Who wants to read the next paragraph?
Go ahead.
The process of recovery is not linear. It is complex. We move forward and we move backward. We think we've made some gains, and then we find we are repeating the same old behaviors. There is a natural resistance to any change process, including the recovery process.
That's exactly what you're talking about, right?
Right, I even say falling down. I mean, they kind of sugarcoat it. Yeah. We move forward, we move backward. I
think we fall down first.
I totally collapse.
I think you start like a baby over again through mental illness.
To recover, you have to change. And changing your life habits or the way you think about things is extremely stressful.
When you see yourself faced with a situation in which you have to go through major changes, you can really go off the deep end, being terrified of who am I going to be when these changes end, and what experiences am I going to have to experience emotionally going through these changes.
I don't know, it just came to me. It was like, Brenda, you're gonna have plenty of time to rest when you're 6 feet under. Get up, get out of this bed, and get out of this house. And it didn't happen, overnight.
Right.
When I did come out, I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I said, let me work.
Right.
And I went to the Stop and Shop. I didn't want nothing, no cash register, nothing. I just wanted to bag.
Right.
But I didn't realize that, your rent goes up and your SSI go down.
Right.
I developed a whole new anxiety,
That's,
and it set me back for a while.
yeah, but not as much as it did when you weren't working.
No, but now I know that it's going to happen when you work.
Right.
So it's like now.
That's a
okay,
struggle game.
Yeah.
It's a natural growth process.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
a natural healing process. It hurts.
It hurts real
It
bad.
hurts.
I don't know what it was that just said, hey, you're gonna have plenty of time to rest. Get up, get
It
out,
was God talking to you. I believe. I'm sorry.
socialize. I'm sorry.
could
sorry
be.
that I-
Could be.
But it
Could
was
be.
very helpful,
You never
going-
know.
Anger follows on the footsteps of despair and grieving. Anger at the illness which has so devastated us. Anger at the helping system which may have failed and even bruised us at times. Anger at society and its attitudes. Anger at God for not taking better care of us. Anger at ourselves for not being able to manage our illness.
Personally speaking, I don't think there's such a thing as managing your anger. Okay, redirecting it is another story. Okay, into positive action.
When I was growing up, I was never taught to be angry. I was never allowed to be angry or to have the. It was always like, have these feelings that are
right.
pretty. Have the
Keep 'em
light
inside,
feelings.
yeah.
Keep it inside. And then when I got older, and after I got married, and then I realized I'd have this like anger, and I wouldn't know what to do with it. I would just be so angry. I couldn't face Richard. I couldn't face anything. I think that brought me about to being more aggressive and more assertive in my regular life.
Somewhat. The only thing I would always caution is that I always encounter with mental illness, it's kind of a condition where there's no shut-off valve. So that I always say, whatever you do, be careful with anger, be real careful with drugs. Also, I'd be very careful because we live in kind of a pop psychology world where people are always trying to get us in touch with our feelings, but I'm not so sure. Anybody who I know who's mentally ill and gets angry,
Right.
we really freak people out.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
So I would say don't get in touch with that feeling. That if I don't take the time to try to make people understand me, then I can get a bad reaction.
Yeah, I think what we're right for is like an unobnoxious psychosis.
An unobnoxious psychosis. Well, that's kind of a way. That's a way to think of it. How many people in this group, to get through hard times, anxiety, or depression, have used prayer?
I definitely use it.
Okay? So that's about half the group has used prayer. Humor and prayer. Let's talk about 3 things we did for ourselves. Give me 3 things you did for yourself this week.
I catered. I came here to this training, and also what did I do? Oh, I did the readings with Tom.
Okay. What did you do for yourself this week, Kelly?
I completed my first week of classes for BU.
Okay. Are you in that recovery group at BU?
Yeah.
Cool.
And I completed Deb's blanket for her new baby coming up in June.
Wow.
And it's going to be a gift from the whole house to Deb
Wow.
for the baby. And let's see what else. I did my laundry.
I brought my original songs to my guitar teacher and
All
insisted that
right.
we work on them.
They criticize or make a little
Some
adjustments?
suggestions, yeah. I asserted that I needed to work on them.
Tuesday morning, I got up at like 4 o'clock, because there's like these things called the labor pools, and they want to see you like at 5 in the morning. I went to one and waited for a couple hours, nobody, so I went to another one further downtown, and I waited there for a couple hours, nothing happened. But while I was downtown, I went to go check out some information on how I can get visitation rights with my son.
Oh, good.